we got to run down the top stories, tell you what is going on across the sports betting world, and that is not always on the field. It's not always the news that impacts how you want to place your wagers. Sometimes it's the business of betting, and that is where we begin. Out in Nevada, if you will, Congresswoman Dana Titus, her fair bet amendment has been rejected. She will actually continue to work to restore the 100% gambling loss deduction that she has been fighting for. But if you haven't been paying attention to this, in short, what it means is the amendment that is coming would have reversed the amendment that she has been fighting for would have reversed the change made by the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that is on the way that would allow gamblers to deduct just 90% of their gambling losses any given year, as opposed to the status quo full amount that has been in place for 70 years. The Fair Bet Act is still pending in the House Ways and Means Committee until the start of the new year, but rest assured, it's on the way in a matter of months. Now we go to the field where, of course, the NFL season kicked off last Thursday. Fun game. Chiefs, as we know, or the Eagles, pardon me, against the Chiefs, the Super Bowl rematch. A good time there. The football fans are going to remember, excuse me, I'm looking ahead to myself here, that what we have in front of us in the matter of days. We had the Eagles against the Cowboys. Who can forget the spit heard around the world? And that is really where we are beginning with Jalen Carter, who was kicked out of that game effectively before it even started. I mean, seconds in, there wasn't even a snap that was placed. And what we saw from Carter, spitting in the direction of Dak Prescott, the quarterback for Dallas, got himself kicked out. There were many that felt immediately there's going to be a suspension. Well, no suspension, according to news from Adam Schefter of ESPN earlier today. Basically, getting kicked out of that game is serving as the one-game suspension. What he is going to get, however, is the fine of a game check, which amounts in nearly $60,000. A big, big number, but Carter is going to be available for the, as mentioned, Super Bowl rematch that is on the way with the Kansas City Chiefs coming up in just a matter of days. Veteran pass rusher Jadeveon Clowny, who of course is not currently in the league. He is a free agent, began first stretch of his career 5 years with the Houston Texans, a three-time Pro Bowler, has really bounced around the league since, become something of a journeyman. He has spent time with the Panthers most recently, a whole bunch of places, Ravens, Browns, Titans, Seahawks. Well, he is going to meet with the Cowboys today because in lieu or in the wake of the Micah Parsons deal to the Green Bay Packers, the Cowboys, they could use a little bit of help when it comes to the pass rush. And so he is going to meet with them, potentially have himself a new job coming up here very soon. Now, speaking of Green Bay, again, the new home for Micah Parsons, we get some receiver news, and that is Christian Watson, who is recovering from that torn ACL, has not yet played, is expected to at some point here this season. The wallet getting just a little bit fatter, Green Bay showing its confidence in him. A one-year extension north of $13 million good through the 2026 season. So again, we'll get Christian Watson back, presumably at some point this season, but he will be full go if at least he can stay healthy for all of next year in a Green Bay uniform as well. Serial fumbler, as our guy Frank here, producer, likes to refer to him, Xavier Gipson, is now looking for work. His miscue with the Jets last weekend, contributing to Pittsburgh's dramatic comeback win against New York in the final seconds of that game, led to strong words from Aaron Glenn, the new head coach there in the Meadowlands. It was, "You will not be on the field with this team if you're going to cause us to lose games." Apparently, you're not going to be on the roster either, because Gipson, again, has been released. He's looking for new employment. At the college ranks, Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. He's not a fan of the proposed transfer portal changes that are in place at the moment, which would move the winter transfer portal from December to January, a 10-day period that would begin on January 2nd. Coach, isn't that right?
No. I don't think it's a good idea at all. In the conversations that we had with the Big Ten coaches, I think the majority of them agree. I just don't quite understand how, for teams that are playing in the playoffs are expected to, make the decisions and sign their upcoming players while they're still getting ready to play for games. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know the calendar is funky, but I know that the Big Ten and Tony Petitti's been working hard because he doesn't believe it either, and neither do the coaches in the Big Ten. We had a lot of long discussions about that and tried to work through the different windows, but I don't agree with it being in January.
Meanwhile, Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King, who really wasn't needed in the previous game, a shellacking of Gardner Webb, 59-12. The lower body injury is improving, was a full go at practice yesterday. The expectation is that he is going to be ready, at least hopes to be ready for this weekend's matchup with Clemson. Clearly a much more important game. More QB news. Alex Orji from UNLV. This news not as good for the quarterback. He is out for the season, had hurt his hamstring against UCLA. The hamstring came off the bone, reportedly, so he is going to miss the remainder of this season. We go to the Diamond, where, again, playoff races are tightening up. Very fun time of the year with only a couple weeks left in the regular season before playoffs get here. The underdog Tigers, they were plus money yesterday, plus 130 with Casey Mize on the mound. Whooped the Yankees, 12-2 in the Bronx. 9-run seventh inning. Aaron Judge, his 359th career home run, passing Yogi Berra as the team's fifth place now on that all-time list. Next up, Joe DiMaggio at 361, just a couple in front of him. But individual achievements aside, obviously an ugly loss for the Yankees and manager Aaron Boone, who watched things come apart there in that seventh.
Yeah, just a little bit of that. Obviously, the hit batter, another walk. So just a rough inning for us and getting in the strike zone, and they were disciplined enough. But obviously, that's the story there in that inning.
Aaron, how do you kind of wrap your head around that inning as a whole? I mean, you guys had been playing well for the most part throughout that game. Certainly an opportunity to win it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Will pitched so well. 6 strong innings kind of set us up there. And look, we just got away from us. 5 ends up being 5 with the hit batter, free passes. We managed contact. That it's not like we got hit a lot all over the yard and some balls finding holes, but just too many free passes.
So with that loss, the Yankees 3 games and tied with the Red Sox for second place in the American League East, behind the Toronto Blue Jays, who rallied to beat the Astros 4-3 in 10 innings. Exciting win there for Toronto. The Astros 1 game up in the West on the Seattle Mariners. So again, multiple divisions with very tight races at the moment. Over in the NL East, where that is not the case, were still some theatrics. Kyle Schwarber just continues to mash. He is the first National Leaguer this year to reach the 50 home run plateau. Got there in the Phillies' 9-3 win over the Mets. In the process, New York's Juan Soto achieving his first 30-30 season with 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases in his career. The Dodgers, they were heavy favorites to beat the Rockies, responded accordingly. 7-2 win to give Los Angeles a 2-game lead in the National League West on San Diego. Teoscar Hernandez, a couple of home runs in that game, and Emmett Sheehan, a nice start for LA as well. Back here on Newswire, and we welcome in our next guest, who is a frequent contributor to the program from the Legal Sports Report, our friend Sam McQuillan, who is on Twitter at Sam_McQuill. Sam, good to see you.
You too, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We always love to have you here to get into the business of all of this stuff. It's not all just, the overs, the unders, the spreads. How do we feel about this game? No, it's important to know kind of where the money's going, where's it coming from, what's legal, what's not, what people are fighting for, all of that. Talked about Dana Titus off the top of the show. Let's talk to you about Kalshi, because the predictive market, I don't think this should surprise anybody, but with the NFL back, it has really taken off.
Yeah, Kalshi saw $300 million in volume over the first weekend of college football and NFL, which again is the first time it's been available at the start of a football season. This was this prediction market, which had made its business on the election, allowing people to bet on the weather, allowing people to bet on kind of unconventional things. And then last year started taking basically bets on sports under this mechanism that has allowed them to be live and legal technically in 50 states. So this is the first time ever that you've had at the start of a football season, states like California and Texas, people having access to this legal betting app. They have a partnership with Robinhood, so it's widely available. And you saw just a ton of volume. It was the 3rd largest day in Kalshi's history, and it was the biggest since the 2024 presidential election. So that should tell you how much just one weekend of football can garner interest, even when you have a lot of legal options out there like DraftKings and FanDuel. This is an option that's available in states where those are not. So ahead of football season, they rechanged their entire interface to, have American odds, to have kind of the 6-box thing where you have the over-unders for a game, the money line, and the spread on each one. So basically, they're trying to make it look and feel like a sports book. However, they are not telling regulators that it is a sports book. You have 4 states suing them, saying, hey, this is illegal sports betting. Sports betting was left up to the states. You need to get a license. You need to be vetted through us. Kalshi, meanwhile, is arguing that, no, we are federally regulated under the CFTC as a derivatives exchange. So you have this kind of whole legal background process has been very murky, and we're waiting on a lot of different things to happen, things to get declared. But in the meantime, they're doing a tremendous business on football in general, and it's led to other companies that we've talked about before, FanDuel and DraftKings, Underdog, exploring similar partnerships. They might see it, as a way to be live in these other states where sports betting hasn't existed. And, basically until somebody tells you can't do it, they're going to keep doing it.
You hit on some of it, but the numbers are pretty impressive here. With football back, obviously, Kalshi topped $300 million over the weekend, but the NFL, specifically Sunday alone, was upwards of about $200 million. Some individual games for anybody wondering: Michigan, Oklahoma, over $10 million over in the NFL. You had 161 combined trading specifically on those 13 games. So, of course, the 200 million was across the board, features tennis as well, which has really taken off in that market. But Baltimore and Buffalo, that exhilarating Sunday night game that I think probably won people a lot of money, cost people a lot of money, depending on what side you were on, that meltdown there for the Ravens late. But that was about $36 million in trading. So I imagine just Kalshi in general is rooting for these rivalry games, these primetime games, these giant matchups, because, people are not going to spread themselves probably too thin with lower interest games like, the Giants against the Saints or something like that. They want these, primetime games, these huge monumental Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl rematch type of contest to invest in, and that's where they're going to make their coin.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you hit on the numbers right there. If you look at even college football, Michigan, Oklahoma saw like $10 million in trading volume. So it's basically being able to get a product out there, allowing people to come and be involved in these games, especially in states, again, like Texas, like California, Alabama, states where for college football and NFL, there's a huge appetite to bet on this kind of stuff. And this is the first time ever Kalshi's allowing people in those states kind of a way to do it legally so far. They probably feel comfortable using a Robinhood versus, like an offshore sports book. And they're certainly marketing it as legal sports betting in every state. So it's really no surprise that people are taking advantage of those big matchups. And yeah, definitely whenever the games are close, it's more volume for the sports book. And they kind of benefit regardless. They're not a sports book that really, they don't function like a sports book where they're taking money on the VIG. They're taking a percentage of money as a fee that everyone's betting. So the more volume that gets bet, the better for Kalshi. It's not like a sports book where they're dependent on the game outcomes, which obviously we saw last year. They very much were.
You mentioned California, and the Senate there out west voted 36-0 to send a bill that would ban online sweepstakes casinos in the state back to the assembly. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's a good question. The California's moved swift and quickly to ban these sweepstakes casinos and sportsbook games, which basically a lot of people are identifying as just a pseudo sports betting option that has been that functions a certain way so it can skirt state gambling laws. Obviously, California does not have legal sports betting. It does have prediction markets right now, but the state is even fighting against that. There's a lawsuit, and pretty much any form of gambling or any form of wagering that says it's not gambling, so it doesn't have to follow the law, has been really met with swift force in California. There's been a lot of tribes kind of behind pushing this bill forward. The fact that it was moved forward unanimously, I think, says a lot. Tribes have a huge, tremendous influence in the state with their lobbying power. They, of course, were the group that basically got the sports betting ballot proposition defeated just a couple of years ago and have been the reason that sports betting kind of remains illegal in California. So they've really been swift in the response to what they see as alternate forms of gaming. Where sweepstakes go from here, I would imagine there's not much they can do, just kind of cut their losses once they get kicked out of the state. There could be a lawsuit which challenges it down the line. I don't think that they would win that, but I think this will probably spread to other states that we've seen now move against, sweepstakes. We've seen them move against fantasy sports that acts like sports betting, and we've certainly seen them move against sports prediction markets as well. So this is just kind of where we're headed with the industry right now.
Sam, I remember all the excitement where I am in Massachusetts about pending legalization for gambling and sports books, and when it was right around the corner, and just the again, all of the enthusiasm around it. Helps that a company like DraftKings obviously is headquartered in the Boston area, but even still, state to state, when these things happen, it's just there's a zest around it, and that's coming to Missouri in just a couple of days, and that means deadline for Friday for various sports books, name them, to get their applications in to be legal in those states. We've already seen a half dozen legalized there, or at least, prepared to be legalized there with their applications in. But what else is on the way here in the next 48 hours or so?
Yeah, you're going to have every sports book that hasn't already applied really try to get that crunch in there if they haven't yet to be in the Missouri market when it launches in December. Missouri is obviously, a pretty significant state in size. It's not the biggest, but it is very important, especially this season, because it's the only state that's going to launch legal sports betting this entire season. This was actually the first week one where we didn't have a new state on board. So sports books weren't able to add more sign-up bonuses or more sign-up customers installing the app for the first time. Of course, you get more signups when people turn 21 every year, but the heart of how they add business is when new states turn on. Of course, as you now have about 38 states have legalized sports betting. There's not a ton left. So Missouri is kind of that last one out there for them really to try to compete, get ahead in the market. It's supposed to launch in December. It looks like everything is tracking smoothly right now. The state has already given out licenses or approved the pre-process of licenses for sports books like DraftKings, sports books like Circa. You've had sports books like FanDuel partnering with teams in the state, which will likely give them a license as well. Fanatics, Underdog, Caesars have all applied as well. There's not many other sports books out there to join in, but if there are, they're definitely going to do it. Have to get it in quick before the end of the week, so they can be live by the start of Missouri's launch in December.
As you alluded to, FanDuel's partnered up with St. Louis City FC, of course, the professional soccer team. Caesars, ESPN, Fanatics, Underdog have submitted their applications. And yeah, we'll see who else does in the coming hours. Sam McQuillan, Legal Sports Report on Twitter, Sam_McQuill. Sam, always enjoy it. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.